A very good evening, everybody. This is Gulf Harbour Radio, ZMH286, Patricia and David, on a very, very beautiful evening after a beautiful day. It has been like summer here, absolutely gorgeous. Still flat calm. Yeah, I know it will change, but it was absolutely delightful all day. And currently it's 15 degrees, still blue sky out there. We've just shut the windows. 15% cloud cover, a bit of cloud sort of on the horizons. 2 knots of east-southeast. In fact, down at the marina here today at Gulf Harbour, people were taking off for an extended long weekend to make use of the weather. It's been absolutely lovely. We have, I'll tell you what the program is going to be tonight. We've got a couple of boats on passage from New Zealand, Harbour and Marilyn. I will call them in very shortly because they might be hanging by the radio. They've got a fair amount of wind. So if they're there, I shall talk to them. Then David is going to give an update on what is happening in the islands with the weather that is coming. We're looking forward to this beautiful big anticyclone, but you guys on the outskirts of it will probably not think it's so wonderful. So he will cover all of that and what it means for you in the islands and going from island group to island group. And then it will come back to me and I will cover the question that Paul on Somerset raised yesterday about cash and Vatu if you go straight from wherever to Tanna, Port Resolution, which is possible now. It's really, really great that they have freed things up. But I would like you to just make sure you do follow the rules because we don't want to upset things. It has not been this easy to go direct to Tanna in the past. They have always preferred to go through Port Vila or Luganville, wherever. But now that it has been freed up, it does mean that people going to Newcastle or Australia can stop at this very interesting island. But we do need to follow the rules. So do be careful. I've got all of it documented here. If you want it, just let me know. And it's very straightforward, but you just have to do the documentation. But I will be answering the question that Paul raised about how to pay for this because it's in Vatu, but it's all quite possible to do. So we'll talk about that shortly as well. So starting off, I'll just see if either of Haydar or Marilyn are on frequency. Nothing heard, so I'm going to pass the microphone to David for his update on the weather.
Okay, good evening, and we'll make this rather brief but condensed so that you have an idea of what's going on out there in the good old Southwest Pacific. Very active, thanks to a nice upper-level trough that's giving us quite a bit of activity on the surface. So if you were to look at a synoptic map, first thing that would strike you, well, if you had both the synoptic chart maps or satellite imagery and/or you would see a huge, huge trough that runs all the way from the Solomon Islands. It heads east-southeast from there to the northern islands of Vanuatu. Then it heads toward, just south of Rotuma. Then it cuts right through Fiji, right through the center of Fiji. This is now that I'm talking about. That continues all the way down to the Kermadec, down to Raoul Island specifically, and it carves around again to New Zealand. So north of New Zealand then is a low, a depression. It's not very severe. It's 1007 roughly, but it is aiding and abetting this trough that I just talked about, and it has its very own cold front. That is also running from roughly Raoul, runs north to about, I would say about 20 south and 170 east. So if you go from Raoul to those coordinates I just gave you, that would be the cold front. Cold front then goes on toward the Loyalties and the northern part of New Caledonia. That's the big picture. There's another trough over Niue. It runs toward the northern Cooks, and there's another one at the southern Cooks, but that's not really of interest to you. I'm sure. Now, what I'm going to do, this is just a brief synopsis of winds that you could expect for the next 6 or 7 days, I suppose. So what I'll do is by island group. So I'm going to start off with Fiji, and I just picked a little spot like around Kandavu or Koro Sea, the middle of the Koro Sea. So this is just one spot, and you may be in an area where there's wind shadows and can say, well, I'm not getting that, and you might not be. So that's the best we can do, but it gives you an idea. So Fiji, we'll look at Saturday. We'll start there, southeast 12, and Sunday, east about 18, Monday, east 22, Tuesday, east 23 to 25, and on Wednesday, we're backing a bit to the northeast. Now we've got 26 knots, 26 to 30. Thursday, the same thing, 26 to 30. Friday, slacks a bit, northeast about 18. And Saturday, it continues to back to northwest 11. That's Fiji. Now we'll take a look at Vanuatu, and I've picked Port Vila. And the weather, believe me, could be quite different depending upon where you are in the Vanuatu group. So we'll just look at the smack dab middle of them, Port Vila. Saturday, east about 22. Sunday, east about 17, 18, like that. Monday, east 20, rising up a little bit. And then starting to shift a little bit on Tuesday. We'll look at northeast about 15 knots. And on Wednesday, still northeast, about 10 knots. On Thursday, southwest at 12. So you can see a major wind shift there. And so that will designate there'll be a trough in there somewhere. Friday, southerly 13, 14, and what did I just say? That was Friday.
Yep.
Saturday, the 20th, would be southerlies about 12 knots. Then the last, we'll go over to New Caledonia, and I'm looking at just in the middle of the lagoon, the southern lagoon. So if you just go due south of Noumea, right smack in the middle of the lagoon, Saturday, easterly, about 13 knots. Same thing on Sunday we do get a shift. We're looking at northeast about 6. And Monday, same thing, still northeast. Tuesday, northeast, picking up a bit, 14. And now we get a shift for Wednesday. We're looking at southwest about 9. Thursday, westerlies about 12. And you can see the winds jumping around. On Friday, south 10. And on Saturday, which is the 20th, south 10 as well. So getting quite a few major wind shifts at that time, all due to pending troughs that will be occurring at that time. So that's the big picture for today and a guesstimate as to what the winds are going to be for the next week. So if those of you are on passage and want to know a little bit more about your passage winds, then come back to us and give us where you're going, when, your ETA, and we'll give you an update on that. So that's it from me for now.
Questions.
And here's the chief.
Yeah, at this stage, does anybody want any further clarification on this delightful enhanced trade effect that you're all going to experience in the tropics? Hang on a minute.
Yeah, shame on me because I wanted to talk about this large high that's moving in. We talked about the low that's to the north of New Zealand. We then are going to be experiencing a magnificent anticyclone, a high pressure area, and that is going to move east and lie over New Zealand in another day, day and a half. And that's huge. This particular anticyclone is going to go. Let me give an idea here. We'll look at, say, Friday. Look at Friday the 19th. It still is with us, but the very western edge is right over New Zealand. The isobars are running. You can picture an isobar running from, say, Fiji, running almost southwest all the way down to 40 south. So you can see your winds are going to be northeast, and they're going to pick up. They're going to pick up as the week goes on, and the next high pressure area is right behind it, and it will be on that date on that Friday the 19th. That is going to lie over eastern Australia, and the eastern edge of that anticyclone is going to run out to about 170, maybe 175 east. So there, between there and the mainland of Australia, is another very large and area anticyclone. So where they meet, they're going to meet at around 176, 177 east, and they'll do that around Friday.
This Friday?
No,
or the next Friday?
This is Friday the 19th. Friday the 19th. And that is going to be producing a very, very large and probably pretty wet trough. So be prepared for that, those of you that are on passage. Don't know where you'll be or who you are at that time, but and that's all going to be reasonably slow moving, from what I can see, but it's going to move east. So there you go. The winds, obviously, as this new high comes in, the winds are going to change from the northeasterlies, which will be on the nose and quite nasty, but to the southwest. And that's your push further on to Fiji. And those of you that are slow have decided to go to Minerva for a while, might pay possibly to wait for that anticyclone to move to the east, but otherwise the run to Fiji from Minerva Reef back the 19th, 20th of the month will not be too bad at all. Even with northeast winds, your angle should be reasonable. Close reach, but not a beat, I don't think. Not until you get up right into, say, Kendavu, and then it would be more or less a beat. That's it from me.
No, it's not, because you need to cover the people going from Island Group to Island Group. Just comment on that.
I can't do that.
Okay, I was asking him to cover from Island Group to Island Group, but of course you'll know from what he's just said of those being on the edge of the anticyclone that it's going to be quite sporty. I'll give the microphone back again.
Okay, island group to island group, as we know it now, is more or less Fiji to Vanuatu. A lot of you are going directly to Tanna, some Port Vila. Very few are going direct to New Caledonia, but I guess a couple are. So anyway, just very briefly then, let's just pick Saturday. If you depart Fiji on Saturday, which I think is the 13th, you'll be looking at south-southeast winds. Actually, quite nice winds to make that passage. On Sunday, the winds are going to back to east-southeast, and Monday they're going to be pretty much easterly. So if you're on the run line to Tanna, the winds, well, might be right behind you, might not be fantastic, but anyway. And then on Tuesday, the winds are definitely going to pick up. They're going to be east-northeast, and I would say if you're approaching Tanna, let's see.
New Caledonia.
Approaching Tanna, northeast 16 to 20, northeast wind. Okay, so that's going from Fiji to Vanuatu. Now, if you're going to New Caledonia, it's virtually the exact same thing. Leaving Saturday, Fiji, southeast winds. Sunday, it'll be maybe east-southeast as you head toward New Cal. And Monday, pretty much easterlies as well. Not very, well, the winds are going to start to pick up, I would say. So that by Tuesday, the 16th, as you're down heading toward the lower pass of New Caledonia. You're looking at about 25 knots out of the northeast, about 25 knots. And then on Wednesday, everything changes. Suddenly, that nasty little bit moves east, and the winds that you're getting are going to be coming from actually the start of the new anticyclone. So westerlies, about 8 knots. So that's a major change. So I don't know what your timing and whatnot is going to be, but there is definitely going to be some wind shifts on that passage up until Tuesday the 16th. So, well, that's mostly it. We're not talking to anybody from Tonga. And so here's the chief.
Okay, that was a pretty quick overview. So if anyone wants any more detail or has fixed their plans on when they want to go, feel free to ask or send an email. Is there anybody on air that might want to ask a question now? Please call.
This is Somerset, over.
Yep, got you, Somerset. I was just switching to look at my streaming screen here to see if there were any questions coming on that. Go ahead, Paul, over.
Yeah, so we stay there on the border. It's blowing out here. Very well. It was 20 knots outside, not near though. So yeah, it looks like it's due to leave on Monday. We can't really leave there because we don't really want to pay the custom overtime, so we'll just have to leave on Monday. And then it looks as if until I'm not sure to be honest, but we're still leaving Monday.
Okay, you're leaving Monday, and I'll just finish with any boats with weather questions before we go on to the detail of the different payment options and how you accommodate that. But I'll just see if David's got anything.
Yeah, briefly looking at the forecasting for the Fiji area, for you, there is that trough that we're talking about. It's lying very slow moving, according to the Met Service, and you can see it on the satellite imagery. Associated cloudy showers obviously are going to affect the group all through tonight. And then we've got a northerly and then switching to a southerly wind flow over all of the Fiji waters by tomorrow. So expect northerlies and then southerlies going from 15 to 20 knots and moderate to rough seas. And there is going to be poor visibility, obviously, in areas of heavy showers and thunderstorms. Then the further outlook, so a couple days from now, we're looking at southerly winds, 15 to 20 knots. And again, moderate to rough seas. And the swell will be out of the south as well. And there's one other thing I was going to give you, Paul, if I could find it here. I'm going to give this to the chief right now and see what I did with this.
Oh, I wonder what he's looking for. Okay, I'm going to, whilst we've got a bit of a pause, I will answer the question that Paul raised last night because it is of interest to everybody. I have had two responses. One is the official guidance and response from Daryl, who is the customs officer in Port Vila, responsible for the yachting. And the other one is a really interesting, useful email from sailing vessel Lupan, and Pele is down, and Ulla are down there at the moment, and they detailed the situation from their perspective. So I'm going to cover that. First of all, the official view is the requirements for payment are in Vatu, of course, and if you're coming from Fiji, you're not going to have Vatu, but you can use whatever currency you have. And every month there is a sheet of exchange rates that is issued, and you can work it out from there. So, for example, if you have an Australian dollar, you will multiply that dollar by 81.13 to get Vatu. New Zealand, you will multiply by 73.02. If you have European currency, you will multiply by 118.33. And if you have US dollars, you will have 116.06 as your multiplying factor to convert to Vatu. And they would accept whatever currency you have. But I will give you a lot more detail shortly because Pele has given us sort of the lay of the land there, and it is very interesting. So I'll just see if David is, you ready?
No, I can't find it.
He can't find it. In that case, I'm going to go to Pele's letter. They did check into port resolution, and there is no Vatu to be had in port resolution. You have to go to Lenakai, which, as you know, is across the other side, and there are ATMs there, quite several of them actually. Cash is really important on the island. All fees are paid in cash, whether it's the exchange system I've just discussed or in Vatu. Now, all the officials are in fact based in Lenakai because that's where the commercial shipping is. Sorry, I'm choking here because we've got paint fumes throughout the house. So you either can drive to port resolution, get on a vehicle that you will hire. You will have to pay the mileage, which is about 3,000 Vatu, and that's about $40 New Zealand. I haven't worked it out in the other currencies. You do have to be aware that customs, immigration, and biosecurity are not necessarily talking to each other. So before you take off, you need to make sure that if you pay them to come across or you go there, you need to have them at the same time. Otherwise, you're going to be paying for several trips, either from them or from you to Lenakai. One thing that you can do is to ask the Commodore of the Port Resolution Yacht Club to drive you to Lenakai. And that you still have to make sure that you've got them all together in advance of getting there. That trip will cost you 3,000 Vatu per person, and that includes the return. Now, when you are in Lenakai, you can get SIM cards for the mobile internet, which is evidently pretty good. There is a Vodafone store there, and you can, and there's a Digicel shop where the SIM card is 200 Vatu, so not very expensive at all. And then you have to buy and load a plan, which is a 30-day plan because you're not going to be there very long. 20 gigabytes is only 3,000 Vatu, so that's about $40. So that's pretty cheap over there. They're quite get up to yachts at the Port Resolution Yacht Club. There's the World Arc and the Oyster Rally are going to be checking in shortly. So there's a lot going on there. But certainly when you're there, it's quite easy really to piggyback on a group of you. If you're there, customs, immigration, and biosecurity will come across, and there's the one fee that you will share, or you can all jump in a truck and go together over to Lenakai. So anything is possible. It's all very friendly. Just make sure you have all your documentation done ahead of time, because we really don't want to cause any problems when they are being so helpful for boats just coming into Tanna and leaving for another port. And I assume that when you do come to leave, that you will be facing the 3,000 Vatu again to get your Zape to go on to Newcastle or Australia or wherever it is that you're going to. So if anyone wants any of this detailed, I may actually get around to putting it on the website tomorrow because it is quite lengthy. But otherwise, I can just send you the emails and you can have a look, which is what I've done with Somerset. So I'm quite envious of you all thinking about going to Tanna. It's much simpler than it used to be. So do take them up on the opportunity to visit Tanna. Okay, that's it from me. Is there anybody with anything for Gulf Harbour Radio? Yeah, hi there, Jonathan, and I presume you heard David talking about the weather for you next week, over?
Yeah, I just wanted to thank David very much for that detail video on 20. We're probably going to fly north over the weekend and then something over the last
Yeah, good idea. Yes, it can get. Well, it's just nice to have pleasant passages, isn't it? Without a great, even when the wind is in a good direction, it can be a bit unpleasant when it's all over the boat. Over.
Yeah, I think we can, and it makes the other ones seem not quite as bad.
Yeah.
Where is he?
Yeah. David just said.
Yeah.
When and where are you going? But if you could you're looking at going over the weekend. Over.
Yeah, we're currently in Selanga with a southerly at 15, overcast in light rain, or it might be drizzle. So we were planning to move north, probably overnight Saturday, to Vanilla arriving Sunday over.
Okay, so you'd be arriving Sunday up in Vanua. Yeah, it's a southeast. He's saying so. Yeah, it shouldn't be up to 20, but that's. I'll just pass the microphone. It's easier.
Don't kid her. She loves talking on this thing. Yeah, Jonathan, it's there's definitely going to be some wind out there, but it sounds like it's a good direction for you. I think you're going north, right?
Yeah, so,
anyway, yeah, I don't see anything really vicious. Let's take a look at what you might expect with some of the gusts here.
Speak up, Bubba.
Yeah, we're looking at the 20 knot category for you on Saturday. Saturday into Sunday. Sunday itself, yeah, it's really about the same. EC has a little bit more wind than GFS, but it's all about southeast. So you should be okay, other than the little swell here and there from some of the cloud buildups that I could see. So there you go. Here's the chief.
Yeah, but you do want a decent visibility for that trip to avoid bits in between. Shouldn't be too bad, he said. So, all right, we'll be expecting. Well, we'll be on every night, so we'll see what you're up to, Jonathan. Over.
Yeah, thanks very much. Thanks, David.
Okay, is there anybody else for Gulf Harbour? No, nothing heard. We'll go back and enjoy our very calm, beautiful evening. It's just been amazing. I've sort of forgotten the drenching that we have had in the past month, the wettest July that we've ever had, but August seems to have turned itself around. Not that it's drying out, the ground is absolutely sodden, and the rest of the country is very, very cold, but for some reason we have avoided this last system that came through, and it looks like it's sort of disappearing off Fiji to the northeast. Viti Levu looks a lot better than Vanua Levu, but I'm sure that will change. So cheers, everybody. Have a good night. This is Gulf Harbour Radio. We're clear, and we'll leave you with the frequency if you need it. Actually, what I should do is just if anyone's following the boats that have left, Haydar is at 3352 south and 17735 east. And Marilyn is rocketing past them, actually. They're doing very well. They've got about 20 knots of wind from the southeast, 33 degrees 26 south and 17555 east. So Marilyn are doing very well. 10 knots average, this AIS says. Wow, on a course of 343. So they'll all be very happy. It's no wonder they're not on the radio. They're probably twiddling with the ropes, getting the last little bit out to race the systems into Fiji. Cheers, everybody. Have a good night. This is Gulf Harbour Radio Clear. God, that's quite a speed for that boat, isn't it? Mind you, it's a pretty long boat, isn't it?
How fast?